Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to an updated mod spotlight on Buildcraft version 4.0.x. It's currently available for Minecraft 1.6. It's currently in a little bit of a beta phase, I think, but it's pretty stable. We've been playing a lot with it on Forgecraft 2, and there's a bunch of changes. Some core mechanics have changed in Buildcraft. There's also some new additions and some new toys and all kinds of cool stuff, and there's a chicken hanging out right here, right inside my piping. Thanks for being there, chicken. Alright guys, I want to show you about all the cool stuff that's going on with Buildcraft. Tons of interesting things have changed, so I need to get started showing you all the differences and additions since the last time I've spotlighted Buildcraft. Alright guys, one of the first and most important changes to the mod is the way the power system works. There's a bunch of things that we're going to see in a little bit that we're going to get into that is kind of dependent on understanding the changes to the power system, which is why I'm covering that first. Buildcraft power is no longer kind of just like getting dumped into a pipe and any machine that accepts it accepts it. It's a little bit more understanding of how much energy the receiving sides need and how much energy the outputting sides can output. So for now, for example, we've got a biogas engine here, each of these outputting 5 Minecraft joules per tick. And there's 8 of them, so there's a total of 40. Okay. Now we've got different pipes as well. In the past, you might have known that there were only 3 basic types of power pipes. There was the wooden, the cobblestone, and the golden. And the wooden was used to connect to engines, and the cobblestone and golden just had varying amounts of energy loss. Here's the big change for Buildcraft. There's no more energy loss over distance. So no longer will you have energy loss occurring when you transmit power over long distances. It just doesn't happen anymore. Even in the past, the golden pipes, which were the best ones to use, still had some amount of energy loss. We don't have to worry about that now. But what we do have to know about is how much energy is going to be traveling through our pipes, because different pipes have different varying amounts that they can accept. The cobblestone kinesis pipe, for example, can only allow 8 Minecraft joules to pass through it. If you try and put any more energy through, it simply won't reach. And the stone one is the upgrade after that is 16 Minecraft joules. From there, we've got the wooden, which you can use to connect throughout the line, and that's 32. You've got the golden, which is 256, so a significant bump up from that. However, you also have one more, which is the quartz, which is 64. Okay, that's probably the main one you're going to be using for any normal system. The 256 golden kinesis pipe will work for some very powerful systems that you want to transmit large amounts of energy through. Okay, and then finally we have the diamond kinesis pipe. This guy sends 1024 Minecraft joules. These are going to be for your really, really large systems. So rarely will you need such a massive amount of energy traveling through a pipe, but I don't know, maybe you will. But it's definitely a difference. So these are the different amounts it can transmit. And basically, that limits how much energy is allowed to travel through a system. So we've got a bunch of quartz pipes set up here, because remember I said quartz is probably your good middle ground. Okay, and the recipe for that, by the way, is simply a quartz transport pipe, which is a block of quartz next to glass. Not too bad of a recipe. Okay, 64 Minecraft joules are allowed to travel through it, and we're producing 40, so we're well within our limits. If we go ahead and turn on these lasers by simply saying, hey, make me some redstone iron chipsets, would you? Ta-da! We'll see all the lasers are firing and we're getting all the energy we need, and all the energy is traveling through the lines just fine. And look, all the lasers are nice and blue. And we can see all this massive amount of energy traveling through the pipes right now. Awesome. What if I wanted to restrict it and say, you know what, we've got all this energy, but I really don't want to spend any more than, I don't know, 16 Minecraft joules on these lasers? Simply break one of these, or more of them if you want, and there you go. Now, let's see what happens. Ooh, interesting. Notice that this laser inside here has now turned red. That's indicating that on this side of the pipe, there's more of an energy draw than this pipe here is allowed to send through. Okay, so with this stone pipe here, it's saying, well, I'm only letting 16 through, but these guys really want more. You can tell they want more because no longer are they all blue. Okay, that's why it's turned red. It's saying there's more of a draw than I'm capable of handling. It's letting you know that you should really upgrade your pipes. So anytime you see a red laser in here, it means something's going on with your pipes. You probably are not letting enough energy through. So go ahead and break it and replace it with a quartz one, which again can handle up to 64 Minecraft joules. You'll notice the power line's now thicker because more energy is allowed to travel through it, and all these lasers will switch back up to the blue line in just a few seconds. Nice. Now we've got plenty of power flowing through. Pretty cool. So keep that in mind because it's pretty important. Let's turn this guy off for a moment. Now, another thing you might have noticed while that was running is that there were blue lines coming out of all of these engines, but look at it now. There's only 2 engines that blue lines are coming out of. Why is that? Because it really doesn't need that much power. These lasers are just using a small amount of power as an energy sink. We can now take advantage of this with a very interesting mechanic brought to us by, you guessed it, redstone gates. So let's take a look at what we can do with your basic gates on these engines. I'm going to turn them all off for a moment. Now that they're off, I'm going to go ahead and attach a gate and show you guys one of the new gate conditionals called Power Requested. You can also get when power is overloaded, but we're going to show you Power Requested for now. I'm going to tell it to emit a redstone signal when there's power requested on this thing. Oh, note that it's not running. Interesting. Alright, so nothing on this line must be requesting power. Okay, it checks on for a second, and then it says, no, nothing here really needs any power, so I'm just going to turn myself off. Cool. Let's go ahead and do the same thing here. Power requested. Yep, not too shabby. So look at that, with this turned on, only a couple engines are running because only a small amount of power is needed. However, if we add more of a power draw to the system by maybe saying, hey, go ahead and make me some more of those redstone iron chipsets, all of a sudden there's going to be a larger power draw on all those lasers up there, and more engines should start turning on. You can see more engines are kicking on as I speak. Look at that. So the demand for power is turning on the engines, but only as many as are needed. Notice that these 2 down at the end here, they're not kicking on. Oh, this one did. All right. I think this last one, though, maybe not. We'll see. But basically, the more power that's needed, the more power is going to be activated and requested from all the engines. And again, if we go ahead and remove the need for power by turning off the redstone iron chipset here, within a few seconds those power demands will no longer be quite so high, and it'll automatically turn off the engines. So now Buildcraft Power is a little bit more intelligent. It tells the engines, hey, I need more power, so I'm going to tell you to turn on. But again, you can only get that with a gate conditional, power requested. It's a good way to limit the amount of fuel or whatever else you're using. See, look, everything turned off now. Cool. Even adding simple machines to the network. For example, the rolling machine. We can go ahead and add this down here from Railcraft, and that's going to go ahead and request some power to fill up its internal buffer, and the rolling machine uses a very small amount of power to keep itself buffered and running. So if it needs to, it might turn on a few more engines. If no energy is being requested along the line, for example, I break this for a moment just to demonstrate, we'll see that all the engines should shortly turn off. There it goes, one's just turned off and there's the other one. So now everything's off. But of course, again, add the power line back up and you will get energy flowing through. And keep in mind, lasers use a small amount of power when not in use, just like the rolling machine and a couple other machines. So some machines use a small amount of power just when they're not in use, but don't worry, your engines will auto-regulate which turn on and which don't. One of the other changes, which you might notice up here, is that I've got a big loop of power going on. In previous versions of Buildcraft, this might have been a problem. In the current version, not really so much. You don't have to worry too much about any kind of loops. They won't cause a buildup and they won't cause explosions. That's the good news. The bad news is sometimes they can cause a bit of power issue, but don't worry, there's an awesome new item from Buildcraft called the pipe plug, which is going to come to the rescue, and it's really easy to make them. Just go ahead and grab yourself some cobblestone structure pipes, and for each 1 cobblestone structure pipe you put in the assembly table, 8 pipe plugs will be produced. Nice. These guys are great because basically what they do is prevent 2 pipes from connecting. So let's give them a try. I'm going to go ahead and break these quartz pipes right here. I'm going to place some pipe plugs on this side of the pipe. Now these act like facades. If you want to remove them, just hold the pipe plug in your hand and shift right click and they'll pop right off. Cool. Let's go ahead and apply them all like so. And we don't need them on the top, so I'll pop them off there. And I'm going to go ahead and hook up the quartz kinesis pipe once again. There we go. Ta-da! Note how the pipes aren't connecting anymore. But obviously we want these guys to connect. So I'm going to pop that off. And look, now energy's flowing in just fine. If I pop that guy off, energy's going to be allowed to flow there. So pipe plugs are a great way to prevent 2 pipes from connecting, and it makes for some really compact designs. And don't worry, these do also work on all other kinds of pipes. So liquid and item transport pipes, you can easily put plugs on and not worry about your different pipes connecting to each other. So if I were to get a golden fluid pipe here and stick this right there, note how it's not connecting any there. Okay, but we can go ahead and pop it off with this guy, and boom, now it connects. Nice. Alright guys, next up I want to show you some interesting item transport pipe mechanics that have changed and have been added to. First off, I want to show you this nifty mechanic. You're familiar with iron pipes, right? Hit them with a wrench and they'll rotate which side is open, and the side that's open is the side that items are allowed to travel to. Cool, right? So right now it's open on this side, which happens to be north. So if I, go ahead and let items travel through here, they should all head to the north-facing side, right? That's the theory. Yeah, it looks like everything's working. Cool. Let me show you one of the gate conditional changes to iron pipes. You can now change a gate conditional to open a certain pipe direction under certain conditions. So this is a new then clause for the gates. You can use it for any gate, but I chose a diamond AND gate so I could use 3 different pipe signals to demonstrate this. You have the north pipe direction, the south, and the west. And of course you've got other pipe directions. It'll only, however, list the pipe directions to which there are pipes connected. It's not now listing top and bottom because I don't have a pipe on the top and bottom. However, if I added a top pipe here, like so, it would start listing that. Now we should see that top and bottom should be listed here. There it is, top. See? Up pipe direction. Cool. But, of course, that'll get changed if we don't have it. So we'll close this off for now because I don't want to confuse anything, and we'll remove this pipe. So what I've done is pretty much set it up so that when you receive a blue pipe signal, it'll open up the south-facing direction, like so. Blue pipe signal is on, it's opened up the south-facing direction. It's only a pulse that's needed. It doesn't need to be kept left on. It'll just open the conditional gate direction when it receives that pipe signal. I've also set it up so that the green pipe signal changes and opens up the west direction, which is the direction I'm currently facing. That's where the green pipe signal is. Ta-da! Automatically opens it up. So we can easily control where things go using some different intentional, intelligent logic with our iron pipes. So we can see right now everything's going down the green path, but if I flip this lever, all of a sudden everything's going down this path. And if I flip this lever, all of a sudden it changes as well. Cool, huh? So that's one of the changes, but there's more. Next up, we've got 2 new types of pipes, and I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that these are a work in progress, but it should give you an idea for what might be coming down the line in Buildcraft. We've got the lapis transport pipe, which requires some lapis lazuli blocks, and we need the diazuli transport pipe, the lapis block with a diamond. The lapis transport pipe can paint items certain colors, and the diazuli transport pipe, easy to remember because it's got a diamond in it, can sort based on colors. Let's take a look. Real easy. Just place down your pipe and right-click it with the wrench to change the color that it's going to paint items as they go through. Let's pick a nice, bright, noticeable color like red. That sounds cool. Shift right-click to go backwards, right-click to go forwards. Go ahead and flip this on. Note, however, also that my diazuli pipe here is also set to red. Cool. Now the diazuli pipe works kind of like an iron gate plus a diamond gate plus dealing with the painting of items. So notice now that all the painted items are getting a red border around them, and they're all heading down the left side of the pipe there. Okay, let's go ahead and flip this to a different color that's not red. Okay, items are going to come out, and guess what's going to happen? If you guessed that they're going to head off to the right, you guessed correctly. They're getting a green paint color, and when the paint colors don't match, they're going to head off in the other direction. But don't worry, simply right-click to change what direction items head down when they match versus don't match, and shift right-click to change the color. Now that we've gone green, see how it's going there. If we switch it now to another color, it's saying, you're green, now you go that way. Pretty cool, right? I suspect things are going to happen in the future that change this. You can also set up gate conditionals that change the color of the piping. So you can say when certain things occur, you can see what's going on there. Pretty cool, right? So you can say, hey, when you get a redstone signal, make it a blue pipe color. Okay, that makes sense. Or when a redstone signal is off. Cool. So I can say, make it a cyan pipe color when the redstone signal is off, and you can see it changed. Same deal for down here. So let's go ahead and say cyan pipe color. There we go. Things are starting to get painted the cyan color. It's going to match up with the pipe, and now items are going to head off in that direction. Pretty cool. So you can go all kinds of neat conditionals and different things to set up how items get around using pipe coloring. Next up, I want to show you guys some of the changes to the automatic crafting that you can do in Buildcraft. There's now 2 tables you can use. You can use the old auto workbench. You're familiar with it. It works great. And you can also use the advanced crafting table, which is better and cooler and requires lasers. And anything that needs lasers is automatically cooler than anything that doesn't. Sorry, automatic workbench. Let's show you this one first, though. We've got a nifty automatic workbench here set up with a pipe that's going to output an energy pulse on demand. I've also got a chest next to it. Simply, like before, set your auto crafting recipe in the auto workbench, like so. And you'll note that it's set to set up and make a furnace. Real easy. If you want to craft the furnace that's in there right now, go ahead and click on it, and it'll go ahead and start crafting. And you can see it takes a little bit of time to automatically craft. It's not terribly instant, okay? But I'm going to go ahead and set the recipe. Now, you might have also remembered in the past that you know, maybe, let's say, it was able to pull from the adjacent inventory, right? Right. Unfortunately, it can't do that anymore. So if I throw cobblestone in here, you can see it's crafting because I had clicked it earlier, but let's go ahead and let it finish. And it's going to use up the contents there. And it won't automatically pull from the adjacent inventory. Oh, that's too bad. One of the good things, though, is that if you throw a bunch of stuff in there, like if I throw half a stack of cobblestone in there, it's going to automatically balance everything out. And it's going to use that half a stack to get me the items I want. And as long as you have more than one set of items in there, it's going to automatically craft for you. So you can see, just like the rolling machine and other machines that you guys have seen from other Buildcraft related mods, that you can get the furnace right here by just waiting. But note that it's not going to craft the second one. You have to pull this furnace out before it'll start making the next furnace. And you can of course do that with a wooden pipe. You can simply say, yeah, energy pulser, go ahead and turn on, and it'll automatically pull the furnace out. So a little bit less powerful than the assembly table, which is, or the advanced crafting table, which is way cooler. If you want though, you can still of course pipe items in. So go ahead and drop an obsidian transport pipe there, go ahead and toss in some cobblestone, and just like I showed you a moment ago, it automatically balanced everything and all that cobblestone landed in there. So it's really easy to pipe items into the auto workbench. It'll only craft one item at a time. It takes a little bit of time for the crafting process to occur, and if you want to get the items out, you definitely have to pull them out with some kind of wooden pipe. That's the details on that guy. Now, onto the laser using machine. This guy's just a little bit cooler because he's the advanced crafting table. We're going to go ahead and set a recipe right up in here. Okay, simply left click. On the left, we have the recipe that we set and the buffer of inventory ingredients. If you go ahead and throw some cobblestone in there, it's going to go ahead and use that cobblestone by way of laser power to go ahead and craft the items that you requested. See how we turn that cobblestone quickly into some furnaces? Very cool. Okay, the other cool thing about this is you can go ahead and toss cobblestone into an adjacent inventory like so, and it's going to go ahead and pull from it. Note that it's pulling exactly the number of items it needs for each operation, and once it completes that operation, it's going to go ahead and finish it off, leave them sitting right here, waiting to get pulled out by a wooden pipe or something similar. Cool, right? Note also that the faster this runs is determined by the number of lasers. So if you have more or less lasers, it's going to run faster or slower. But with a simple setup of 9 lasers here, you can see it runs pretty darn fast. Not a problem at all. So we'll go ahead and throw some more in there, and you'll see just how quickly it crafts. Much faster than the auto workbench was. Cool, right? Now remember that I told you that it can pull from adjacent inventories. That means it can also pull from adjacent crafting tables. So if you want, you can set up some really nifty crafting. So if I wanted to throw something like this in here, ta-da! This is how we get an iron furnace. Let's see what happens. Oh, it's crafting. Why is that? It's pulling the furnaces from the adjacent advanced crafting table. So it's really easy to set up a line of automatic crafting. Set up a few of these in a line, and you can easily set up an iron furnace production that then gets upgraded to a generator. So you throw a couple of these advanced crafting tables down, and you can easily build some really complex machines that require 3 or 4 crafting steps. Not too shabby. Problem: I've got all this awesome liquid cooped up in this tank. I sure wish it was sitting out in the world being useful. No problem. Go ahead and make yourself a floodgate. The floodgate is a pretty awesome block. It allows you to pump water, or any kind of liquid for that matter, into it, and it's going to go ahead and deploy it in the world. Just be a little bit careful. It's pretty easy to make a mess, but you'll have a good time deploying your liquids into the world. Eventually, it'll go ahead and fill up this whole area with all kinds of water source blocks, and they'll do what water source blocks do, which is make other water source blocks. How cool is that? So you can see here we've currently got 3 of them going on, and it's going to go ahead and smooth out the entire pool. Awesome. That is the floodgate. Next up, we've got a very interesting block. It's called the filtered buffer. This is really pretty cool. It has a lot of unique and interesting purposes. Let me go ahead and show you what it's got. Inside the filtered buffer are 9 slots, and you can designate what kind of items fit into those 9 different slots. Why don't I demonstrate to you what I mean by that? For example, you'll see here that no item slots are available, and I'm going to go ahead and get an obsidian pipe just to demonstrate how this works. And if you drop an item into the obsidian pipe, note that it doesn't fit inside the filtered buffer. It's like, nope, can't fit in there. That's because currently no slots are available inside the filtered buffer for items to go into. What you can do, however, is go ahead and place one item in there. And note that it didn't actually use up the item, it just kind of put a ghost item in there. And it opened up the first block. Now, if I drop cobblestone in, the filtered buffer will accept it and place it in that buffering slot. How cool. Go ahead and drop in a bunch of cobblestone for all I care, but don't put too much in, otherwise it's going to go ahead and spit out the excess. Ta-da! Now, this is also filtering what items are allowed in, so I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate that cobblestone, of course, does fit in there just fine. However, dirt, on the other hand, will not. It's going to get rejected. Nope, dirt does not fit in the filtered buffer. That is, unless, of course, I go ahead and say dirt's allowed in the filtered buffer, just by clicking like that. Now, both cobblestone and dirt are allowed in the filtered buffer, and it'll place them in their appropriate spots. So you can go ahead and set up so that it can keep one stack of any items that you want, up to 9 for all it matters. That's not even the best part. There's unique gate conditionals set up on these things. So let's take a look at placing an autarkic diamond AND gate on this thing. We can go ahead and take a look for any contains amount in percentage amount. So you can check to see if it contains less than 25% of what's allowed inside this block, or 50, 75, etc. Those are what you can do. And you're going to want to go ahead and place an item in here for a slot for the buffer. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up to say, if you have less than 25% of the cobblestone that you allow to go into this block, which currently is true, go ahead and emit from me a redstone signal. And why don't I just get some redstone to demonstrate to you guys that this is working. Cool. Nice. Okay, so we've got the redstone signal being emitted. Again, on the gate conditional of less than 25%. 25% of a single stack is 16, right? It's about a quarter of a stack. Cool. So if we've got, for example, 15 in here inside the filtered buffer, just like that, it's still emitting the redstone signal. If we throw one more in there, note that the redstone signal turned off. The gate conditional is set at less than 25%. But if I bump it up to 50%, it's going to start emitting that redstone signal at the point that it has less than the 50% there. And again, we want to go ahead and change this so that it's cobblestone, and now the redstone signal is emitting. Gotcha. Let's go ahead and bump this guy up to 32, and now it's happy. The cool thing about this too, though, is if you go ahead and make another filter slot for cobblestone, it's no longer saying that it's got less than 50%. See? It's now less than 50% again because you're now telling it I'm allowed to have 2 stacks of cobblestone. So in order to get this guy to be matched, you have to get a whole stack of cobblestone in there for it to match up to the 50% mark. Now it's satisfied with 50%. Cool. So you can go ahead and set that for the 50, 25, and 75% mark and come up with all kinds of interesting and unique ways to mess around with this nifty block. It's a great way for storing individual amounts. And of course you can pump items in and out, etc. And go ahead and use emerald gates if you want to pump out only specific items. For example, if you want to make sure only wooden planks get pumped out of here, you can go ahead and use the emerald pipe to pump out wooden. Cool. Emerald pipes, by the way, allow you to open up an interface and set up a filter. So you can say only certain items are going to be pumped out. Normally with one of these pipes, and I'm going to go ahead and set it up here. Let's go ahead and place some of this in here, and we'll put some more cobblestone in. Sounds like a good plan. You can set it up so that, you can say redstone signal off. Go ahead and send an energy pulse. And it's going to pull from the first available inventory. Obviously, in this case, it's probably going to be cobblestone. But with a filter on this guy, you have to tell it exactly what to pull out. It's not going to just pull out anything. No, sir. So I'm going to say go ahead and pull out oak and wood planks. Now it's going to start pulling these guys out. Cool. There it goes. Nice. So go ahead and set your filter with the emerald pipe, and you'll be allowed to tell it what's allowed to be pulled out. By removing the filter from this emerald pipe, you can see it's no longer pulling out the matching item of oak wood planks. And with that, guys, I think I've covered most of the changes that have occurred in Buildcraft version 4.x. Keep in mind, there's more coming, and more that I haven't even shown you. There's 1 or 2 things I haven't shown you. Specifically, they've added their own unique biomes. They're very rare to find, but you will find an ocean oil field biome, which is just a giant ocean biome with tons of oil fields in it. And there's an equivalent desert oil field biome, which is basically a desert oil field biome. Tons of desert, tons and tons and tons of oil. If you've watched my Forgecraft series, you've seen one of these biomes in the past already. Now, this is a pretty cool biome to check out, so make sure to try and find one because it's really good for finding oil. And with that, I think we're ready to wrap up. I do know more changes are coming down the pipeline. There's a bunch of really, really talented mod authors working on this mod at this point, so lots of cool stuff happening. Those of you wondering about builders, I don't know. I'd keep an eye on the website, which I'll go ahead and link in the bottom of this video. If I were you, I'd keep an eye on that website because you might see builders coming back in the future. I'm not going to promise anything, but who knows? Alright guys, Direwolf20 signing off. Hope you enjoyed it. Definitely worth downloading. Available for the current version of Minecraft, version 1.6. Go ahead and get it. Alright guys, take it easy.